When we got into the real world, we started to have challenges, certainly with the distance and trying to manage a relationship through FaceTime. We are very, very different people aside from the humor.
Blake Moynes is sharing his side of the story in regards to the Katie breakup and his shocking revelation that she is now dating John. Hey guys, and welcome back to another shared news. We've got all the details you need to know on Blake's side of the story, but before we get into it, make sure you guys are subscribed to our channel and ring the bell so you never miss out on any future videos. As always, I am your host and Bachelor expert, Zachary Reality, and Blake is sharing all the tea on his side of the drama on Mike and Brian's podcast, Talking It Out, which is a Bachelor-affiliated podcast. Blake begins the podcast talking all about his love for wildlife preservation, and he did that whole month in Africa, and he really wanted to talk a lot about that before the tea and before the John stuff and the Katie stuff. He really just wanted to mention his love for Africa. He loved wildlife prevention. Rhinos are his favorite animal. The Jungle Book is his favorite movie, and elephants are keystone species. So he really wants to use his platform to bring awareness to that because that is his passion and life purpose. And he thinks that people on The Bachelor should use their platforms to, do something good and to bring awareness to good things other than just gossip and tea. So he really just wanted to make that clear, so I thought I would bring it up for you guys today. Now on to the tea. So the episode was very long because it was in two parts. So the first part was recorded a few days ago or a week ago, and it was about the Katie breakup. And then the second part was recorded after the news broke that John and Katie were gonna be together. So it was a last minute part two. So this podcast really gets into the nitty gritty. So here's what he said about Katie and their initial breakup. He said that after the show, they realized that they were very different people, even though they, seemed compatible on the show. Right after, they immediately noticed that they were different people on different planets, living in different countries, and that all they really had in common was their sense of humor and just being really open and fun and mature, so they didn't mesh well in real life. They would be really good best friends, he says, if they were best friends, and it's just the romantic relationship just wasn't there. And it became very exhausting very quickly. There was a lot of tension, a lot of pressure. Blake realized that they were supposed to be enjoying their life, having happy memories, making laughs, and there was just this tension for no reason, and that they were stuck in a relationship they did not want to be in. They would have had to drastically change as people to stay together, and they were both on the same page with the breakup. It could have been a lot worse and a lot messier, but it was handled very well between them as it was a mutual split, and they both knew they weren't meant to be. In regards to Blake being the next Bachelor, he is no way in prepared to date 30 women. He's pretty much done with the show. He wants to start dating in real life when he is ready to. He's currently not ready to start dating because he's still trying to get over the loss of Katie, and now this adds another emotional layer that Katie's with John. So he has no plans to be the Bachelor, and he kind of says that he doesn't want to go back on the show. There was a little bit of a door open that he might be open to Paradise next year, but he's gonna date in the real world and see what happens. Paradise is a long time away. It is possible that he could be lying and he could be trying to put up the ante, because there is a lot of rumors on the internet that Blake is going to be the next Bachelor after Clayton. Maybe he's trying to play with the show and be like, nope, I'm not gonna do it, to kind of just get them more intrigued and invested, maybe give him more money if he would agree to be the next Bachelor, because now he does have a story. There is a lot of Bachelor Nation who feels bad for him and who is taking his side and feels like Katie cheated on him or disrespected him. I know there's a lot of Katie fans out there, there's Blake fans out there, but he does have a case to make him the next Bachelor of why he is worthy of love. And he really also wants to make it clear that he did not fall in love with 3 Bachelorettes. There were 2 Bachelorettes on his season. He could have never have planned for that. The reason he was so interested in Claire is because Claire's season was postponed because of COVID back in 2020. So he had the idea that Claire was going to be his person for months going into filming. Usually you find out who the Bachelor or the Bachelorette is a week or even a few days before you go to film and you go to night 1 in the limo in the mansion. But because Claire was announced as the Bachelorette and then COVID hit, he had the idea of Claire in his head for months, so he was really invested and in love with the idea of getting to know her. And then Tayshia, he kind of said, who wouldn't fall in love with Tayshia? She's so bubbly, she's so warm, so friendly, such a catch. So then he just really developed strong feelings for Tayshia, but he never fell in love with Tayshia or Claire, and he never even said that on camera. So he wanted to kind of clarify that. and he understands that people like to make jokes about it, and it is what it is. And in regards to Katie, he definitely fell in love with Katie. Also, Aunt Lindsay, he got asked about Aunt Lindsay, and he never saw Aunt Lindsay after the show, but he was supposed to go to Seattle for Thanksgiving if him and Katie ended up staying together. And he says that Aunt Lindsay probably felt justified and that he totally understands that she was looking out for her niece. Now on to the John parts, and these parts got a little sticky because Blake was recording this as the news was breaking about Katie and John, so he did not have time to process this, but Brian and Mike, the two hosts of the podcast, thought it was very important that Blake came on the podcast and discussed the John parts before this came out so that, you know, he can really tell his full side of the story. Blake believes that there was emotional cheating for the transition to be so quick from being his fiancé to already being in a relationship with John, and he feels that it took away a lot from what he thought they were. They've hung out so many times as a trio when Blake would visit John in San Diego, and John and Katie were always close friends, so Blake never worried about that. He was never jealous, and he says that, you know, he would see them hang out when he was not there, but he just didn't think that anything else was going on. He wonders if John was in her back pocket this whole time, and he also wonders if John was slowly making moves on Katie while they were in a relationship. He says his boundaries were crossed. He wants privacy and kindness, and he's not getting that from her, and that was what they asked for in their mutual breakup statement when they posted that a month ago, was for privacy and kindness during this difficult time. And unfortunately, Blake feels that he didn't get that because Katie did the exact opposite when she publicly put out her 12 days of messiness, which really brought a lot of attention to her and all of her exes, and it really became kind of a joke in his, you know, view. And every day he was getting text messages being like, who do you think tomorrow's gonna be? What do you think tomorrow's gonna be? He wanted nothing to do with her messiness, and every day he would wonder what the next day would be, and he thought the final day would be Katie falling in love with herself. And that unfortunately didn't happen because the final 2 days were about Katie falling in love with John, and there was even a video posted last night by John of him and Katie kissing. We really don't know where the timeline is. Blake is also confused with the timeline. He believes that Katie already knew on day 1 that John was going to be announced on day 12. He believes that Katie and John started a relationship, you know, while they were together, or if not days after their engagement ended. I feel like Katie definitely checked out of the engagement with Blake probably before they ended it together or even publicly, but I also feel like Blake just wasn't around and he wasn't making an effort, and Blake does own up to the fact that he didn't text Katie back enough when he was in Africa or Canada, and that he just didn't put enough effort into their relationship. So I guess what did you expect Katie to do? You're living, you know, on the other side of the world, and Katie wanted to be fulfilled, and she was getting fulfilled emotionally through John, and I think that relationship developed naturally and organically through a friendship. I don't think Katie cheated on Blake, but I do think that the feelings were there while she was still with Blake, and I don't think it's her fault. I think it's the Bachelor's fault. I mean, they were forced to stay together for a certain amount of time, and she was put in such a sticky situation, and her, you know, John kind of came out of nowhere. So it is what it is. You know, Blake does feel like there was a lack of disrespect. He did unfollow Katie on Instagram. He also unfollowed John on Instagram. He feels disrespected by both of them, as he should. I understand why he's upset, but you know, it is what it is. It happens. I mean, Blake is obviously gonna have to grieve this loss, and his mom, Mama Moynes, also got in on the action, liking some Instagram comments that were not in favor of Katie or John. Blake also says that this was the second time this happened to him in a relationship, where he was with somebody who had a platonic friendship with another guy, and it ended up happening like this. So I definitely feel bad for Blake. He says that her and Katie are on cordial terms. After this, it's a little bit more messier. He really ultimately wishes her the best and wants them to move on in a cordial way. He even mailed her a package recently, like as in like last week. So they really are on okay terms. He just wishes at the end of the day that Katie gave him a heads up that she was going to announce her relationship with John. And maybe if they waited a little bit longer, that would have been easier for him. But he also knows that it's out of his control. They're no longer together. And yeah, that kind of is the moral of the story. I wish Blake well in his grieving process. I think that he shouldn't be the next Bachelor, but I would love to see him on Paradise next year. I love Katie and John together. I think that they really fit well together. I like their personalities. I just feel like it was an organic love. I don't know if it will last forever because it definitely, you know, is a little messy. They're starting off their relationship in a very messy way after the 12 days of messiness. But I think that, you know, Katie and Blake were not meant to be, so it is what it is, as I keep on saying. So let me know in the comments, are you guys Team Katie? Are you guys Team Blake? What do you think of the 12 days of messiness as a whole? Do you think Blake has a right to be upset? Do you think Katie cheated on Blake? Do you think that Katie and John will last? Should Blake be the Bachelor? Lots to discuss here, so let me know in the comments down below, and I'll make sure to read those and reply to you guys. And before you go, make sure you guys are subscribed to our channel and ring the bell so you never miss out on any Bachelor updates. As always, I am your host, Zachary Reality. You guys can follow me down below. Come talk all things Bachelor with me on Instagram, on TikTok. And that is all I have for today, so I will catch you guys in the next one. See you later. Bye.